Hi there, my name is Kaylee.
My name is Shay.
And we're tackling some big debt.
In the Big Apple.
And we got a question about how we combined finances and how we have combined finances and how that works. And that's something we've talked about kind of in passing in different situations, but not as a video of its own.
Yes.
So, for those who are new, we're married and our finances are pretty much entirely combined.
Yeah.
We have a few things that are not combined, but that's very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we get this question because it's a difficult thing to navigate in a relationship, is how to handle money together.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we are just not the best people to give advice on it because it went so smoothly for us because, I mean, let's be real. I've been making videos on YouTube for the past 3 years. I had started making the videos pretty much right before we got together.
Yeah.
And so the transparency around finances has been 100% like opaque from jump. It's been, there are no doors to my finances. It's all windows. So she has always known everything that's happening in my financial life since we started dating. So it could have been before we started dating. I could have just put the channel on my Hinge profile and she would have known everything about my financial life from jump, which is important that she knows more about my financial life because I'm the one who has all the debt. So I think having that be just an open door conversation, she knew everything about it from jump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, introducing 6 figures of student loan debt in a new relationship is scary. I mean, I guess I wasn't ever really that scared about it. I was telling people left, right, and sideways that I had 6 figures in student loan debt.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that can be uncomfortable. So
mm-hmm.
I started a YouTube channel. If you're thinking about telling someone something that's hard to say, just tell everyone in the entire world first. And I just got past that hump of it being uncomfortable to talk about on a bunch of other people before I even met you.
Yeah.
What about your perspective on that?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose my perspective is that transparency was a huge factor in creating comfort for me. And I think the other huge factor in creating comfort for me, like coming into a very structured financial system in which I was the person who had to be the one who was changing systems the most.
Because I was not letting go of YNAB.
No, was a comprehensive, but also and supportive education in the systems, and creating a lot of points of access for me to learn what those systems were going to be. And then also allowing room for renegotiation of where certain funds were going to live was also instrumental in helping me feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think we were lucky in that we had both separately done a lot of learning about the basics and fundamentals of personal finance before we met each other. It was something that we were already both relatively well versed in. Shay knew the ins and outs of high yield savings accounts. She didn't know as much about the stock market, but I consider that personal finance like 2 or 3.0.
Yeah.
But as far as managing daily expenses, navigating personal debt, all that stuff, we had both figured that stuff out on our own.
And we both had different ways of managing it, but they were both coming from a place of education.
Yeah. So we had kind of gone through those personal journeys separately, which again, I cannot imagine how much harder the process would have been to combine if we were also still learning those things at the same time.
Yeah.
So I always have a lot of empathy for people who are trying to take those first steps alongside another person because I did a lot of stuff wrong. I had a lot of crazy feelings about it when I was doing it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, as we were combining, we had a lot of, back and forth conversations where I would feel like I was being honest and open and allowing her to have space. And then looking back on it, I was like, oh no, I was just shutting down every idea she had that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
Which in the moment, I felt like we were having a conversation. I was allowing you input. And I was like, no, I was allowing her words in the moment, but it was not necessarily input into the system that I had built that was working for me.
Yeah.
So part of it was letting go of a lot of ego about stuff that I was very proud of, which was hard because I wasn't doing anything wrong. But if I was doing something and it made Shay not comfortable with the way it was happening, then that is wrong, even if financially it was maybe the right thing to do in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, we had to let go of all ego when it came to...
Most ego. We had to let go of most of it.
I kept a little.
And I kept a little.
We had to acknowledge the ego
Mm-hmm.
that was happening in our own personal financial lives because we had both made good decisions and we had both done things correctly.
Yeah.
And we still needed to make changes in order to combine.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to be accepting of either the way that the other person wanted to do it, or I think more specifically, the why we wanted to do it.
Yeah. Because
we both had very different upbringings and very different childhoods, and we operated, I think a lot of humanity, you operate from a place of fear
mm-hmm.
a lot of the time. And in my finances specifically, I operate from a place of fear a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Shay did not have that experience mostly. So it was just her understanding why I freaked out about small little things, helped her understand the way my brain operates, and helped us have better conversations. But mm-hmm. I will not lie to you and sit here and say that that happened from jump. We did not put all of our paychecks in the same bucket and then all of a sudden we were totally fine.
Yeah.
I think I've told the story of us getting into a fight in a Trader Joe's about a bag of pasta, and it was a difference of like $3 or $4. And like, you guys, if you've watched our budgets before, we'll spend a couple $100 on a whim on something that makes us excited. But like the $2 or $3 purchase, the difference in price between 2 bags of pasta just like set me off in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to really dig into that and understand why that was happening. And honestly, I think since that moment, we both have understood each other a lot better. But like those moments and those things like that are gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunately normal when people are afraid to shut down and react in maybe a negative way.
Yeah.
So that happened to us. And we just had to step back, finish our grocery shopping, and and kind of come back together later and figure out why that happened, how we prevent it from happening in the future, what's the reason behind both of us having a response in the moment. It was a big thing in the moment that I think led to a lot of learning and understanding that we still use now.
Yeah.
So when we want to make purchases, and when Shay wants to make a purchase that is maybe an ingredient that is not the cheapest one in the store, instead of just grabbing Meyer lemons. But I think the Meyer lemons are a great example. She picked up a bag of Meyer lemons that was maybe double the price,
mm-hmm.
which again, I spend money on stuff all the time. I don't know what it is, but groceries, it just, I don't know, it makes me scared. Like, it freaks me out.
Yeah.
Because, I've had times in life where purchasing groceries was that big of a deal. It was like that. You had to make decisions, one thing over another, because you only have $4 or whatever. Like, so she picked up the Meyer lemons that are twice the price, and she goes, "These are in season right now. They have a very minimal seasonal life, so they're special for this, and this." And I'm like, okay, at this point in my life, I can invest in quality, and we can get the Meyer lemons, and it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things my brain will not let go of. But so we've adapted, we've adjusted, and we continue on.
Mm-hmm.
So conversations, it's all about communicating. We communicate a lot. We talk a lot to everyone on the internet, to each other.
Yeah.
We have family meetings every single week. Why did we decide to combine our finances in the first place?
The reason, why for combining finances, I think just came from a desire to be as efficient as possible as we progress toward shared goals. So once we got into a point in our relationship where we had shared goals, whether that was getting a new couch for the apartment or, financing a wedding.
Kind of couches on the mind.
In a big way. I think that the why behind combining finances was just that we wanted to, be as efficient as possible once we started having goals that we shared. And I think that came probably earlier for us than it does for many couples because we are victims of that stereotype about women who love women.
You hauling it up, baby. Yeah. I think having the shared goals and understanding that I'm like our family accountant. Like, I sit and I do our taxes, and I did Shay's taxes the first year that we were dating. And like I am willing to get in and manage our investment portfolio. I'm willing to get in and do all the work that it takes to manage our family finances.
Mm-hmm.
And Shay could absolutely do it.
Yeah.
And doesn't want to. So I have also, like, it was easier to have all of it be combined. We also are humans who are doing, you know, travel hacking and building points and things. So having our expenses all in one place and focused in one account, like we have a daily spender credit card. We'll get into what our accounts are right now and all that later. We'll give everyone Shay's PIN number. And so just having all of that together and consolidated made executing our goals so fast and easy, and we can make adjustments and shifts without having to adjust a bunch of different accounts and all these things.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to roll with it.
Yeah.
But
I would also say that we moved just quicker than most through like a standard progression, not standard progression, but like a step-by-step progression.
We just
toward combining finances.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where like I needed every step in that process.
Even if they were short, she still wanted to step on each stone.
Just for the purpose of like building trust, for sure. But you know, it started with, okay, you know, we'll Venmo each other for rent. And then everything else we buy separately. And then that progressed to, okay, let's download the Splitwise app so that all of our grocery expenses, like we can split it according to, you know, like the proportion of like take-home pay that we have. We
did half and half on rent for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a decent raise. And then our income became disproportionate. Is that the word? And so then that's when we moved into Splitwise. And then in Splitwise, we started splitting everything with like a 60-40.
Mm-hmm.
To just keep it, you know, Shay's income was less than mine. It just was.
Yep.
And so bankrupting her so that way I could have a bunch of extra cash, it didn't make sense or feel fair. So we did groceries, rent, a few bills were in the Splitwise app.
Yep.
And that was great for that period of time.
Yeah. And then we combined all of our accounts. And then I decided that I wanted to be in charge of some of the savings. So we re-split up some of the savings. And that's kind of where we are now.
That is where we are now.
Yeah.
Everything's touching a little bit more. We've reintroduced, well, look. So let's start with things that are shared.
Yes.
So we have a joint checking account.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be just my personal checking account, and then we just added Shay. We went into the bank and we sat down with the lady, and she loved us. And we added Shay to everything, and Shay has just as much control over that account as I do.
Yep. Which was difficult for me to wrap my brain around. I was like, there's no way. That's not how that works, but it is.
And then she finally deposited a check that was in my name to that account. Like, I signed it, and then she deposited it herself, and she's like, oh, okay. All right, we really do have control over this.
Yeah.
And then attached to that joint checking account, that joint account is where, you know, all of our bills that are not, like, our rent comes out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of bills that won't let us pay with a credit card. Our power bill, and I think that's it. And then we just pay credit cards basically with the rest of it.
Yeah.
Attached to that account is just like a regular bank checking account, and that's where all the student loan payment stuff happens. So my student loan payment gets direct deposited to that account from my paycheck. So it splits off it splits $300 into the savings, and then the rest goes into the checking. We also have a high yield savings account.
Yes.
That is where all things sinking funds, anything like sinking funds, savings for my nephew Wyatt. Mm-hmm. What else is in there? Emergency funds are in there.
Yeah.
Most of the emergency fund is in there.
All the stuff for the cats, paid staycation is in there.
Anything that we're going to be holding on to for more than a few months and is just going to sit, that goes in the high yield savings account.
Yeah.
Right now, all of my student loan payments are sitting in there while we wait for the payments to come back, all that. And then we have a few joint credit cards. Like I said, we do some travel hacking. We do some, when we do some sign-up bonuses, some things like that. Kind of slowed down on that recently, but we do all of our spending on credit cards and get points for that.
We've kind of combined our two methods for handling credit cards because Kaylee came in with the points hacking end of it, and I came in with like a sit and stew method for all of my credit cards. So I have probably like 4 different credit cards, and each of them only have one monthly payment for monthly subscriptions. So like our Spotify is on there, my New York Times subscription is on one, and then I have a couple other monthly subscriptions on each of the other ones. And so they just come out once a month, and then
they get paid off right away.
Automatic payment also happens once a month, and they just roll in the background.
Yeah, we basically have, and I have 1 or 2. I have 2 like that as well, where there's just a payment on them because I've had them for so long and they just roll.
Yeah.
And then there is one, we have the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. That is our daily spender. We use that for everything.
Yes.
And we got the sign-up bonus for that one. And then we'll probably move to another one to get a different sign-up bonus when we figure out what our next thing we want to do is.
Yeah. I think that's one of our next steps in combining finances is now that we're now officially married, filing jointly, I can apply for some credit limit increases, which was another thing that I got really stuck on when we combined finances, because I felt like she was reaping all of the benefits of combining finances from a credit perspective, and I was like, I need to have the same benefits from my credit card. I was really mad.
She was mad at Chase for a couple days there.
Yeah.
Because she got denied for the Chase card and I got approved like immediately.
Yeah.
It's better that we filed jointly. Now we have our income is what it is, baby.
Yes. So now we can request some credit card limit increases, and that's one of those things that we're still working on.
We just filed taxes like a week ago.
Yeah.
So now on to my accounts. If we follow this little trail here, we each get $150 a month in fun money. What comes out of that fun money is things that are fun. Things that we want to spend on that are our business. That also includes gifts for each other for Christmas and birthdays. So we each have our own separate accounts basically for this, so I can buy things and hide them from her.
Yeah.
So my personal checking account is just like a Capital One. I just opened another checking account just for this. I keep my fun money budget on YNAB because I am that kind of nerd. So I have a whole fun money budget. I'll do a quick look through that right here. Like you can see, this is all just stuff that I'm interested in spending in that Shay does not give a shit. She does not care. I buy video games with this money. Any video game I want to buy that I didn't get for Christmas, which I got a lot of great games for Christmas. Campbell, Diablo 4, I'm having so much fun. Shay's sister. All that stuff. And
all her little desk gadgets.
My little desk gadgets. Just little things that I like that are just like stuff that's just for me.
Boy stuff.
not a boy, but yes. And like
she's not a boy, but she gets boy stuff.
I get boy stuff. And like there's a work friend of mine. We go out for coffee every other week and we alternate who pays, and that comes out of my fun money. And if I go out like for lunch with a friend, like little stuff like that, that's just for me, that has nothing to do with this one. There's that. And then I also save for her, like I said, her birthday and Christmas presents in there. I also have a credit card that I do, it's a cashback card that I do all that spending on, and then I pay it out of the checking account. And that's just a me thing. I just prefer, if it's a cashback, it's not points or anything. It's just, I like that. And then if we swing over to the other side, talk through your accounts.
So I left both my checking account that used to be like the checking account that I would spend all of my daily spending out of, and then also my personal savings accounts that used to be like my main savings account. I just kind of left those as they are, and now they are just for my fun money. So because I prefer to not use YNAB, I like changing my mind about what I'm going to spend my fun money on.
YNAB lets you do that. Also, I forgot to say, the black border, so anything that has a black border is in YNAB. Anything that doesn't is not.
Yes.
That's just for fun.
Yeah. So what I do is all of my $150 a month goes to my personal checking account, and then anything I'm setting aside for Kaylee's birthday and Christmas presents goes into the personal savings account, so that I know that I don't touch that money until it's Kaylee's birthday or Christmas. And then other than that, I just
buys purses.
Girl things.
She buys Coach purses.
I buy
restores them.
Vintage Coach purses and fun little sewing patterns and, just cutesy stuff, like watches and jewelry and stuff I find at the thrift store. Sometimes, cute stuff like that.
Cute girl stuff.
And then I have my personal high yield savings account, which holds my portion of our emergency fund, which is 50% ish of the
Pretty
emergency
close.
fund. Pretty gosh darn close to 50%.
And why do you like to keep that separate?
It just makes me feel better.
We're
no
not worried.
particular reason.
We're not getting divorced. We like each other very much. But Shay really prefers to have savings that is separate from all of our money together.
Yeah.
And I completely understand and respect that. And it makes her feel safe.
It's one of those things where, Kaylee's got her baggage that she came into the relationship with. And my baggage is that I just like having a little pile of money that nobody else can get to. Because a lot of times I would share like accounts or like, expense cards and stuff like that with my siblings, and sometimes I'd go to be like getting groceries and all of a sudden all the money would be gone. Not that it was anyone's fault. It was just like that was like the thing that would happen to me, that now I've carried into my adult life a little bit, and it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't have to, but it does just help.
Just makes her brain happy.
It just helps.
And that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Making our brains happy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, do you have anything else you'd like to share?
I suppose just in terms of, if we were to be dispensing advice to anybody, would just be to say that there's no...
Wash your rice.
Yes. Wash your rice. And also that there's no one correct or perfect solution.
No.
I think Splitwise is a fantastic resource. I think joint savings accounts are fantastic resources for people who are just getting started. YNAB is another fantastic resource. Even though there was a slight learning curve for me coming into the situation, it also helps a lot to have access to it, like on my phone, so that I can check and see and remember like what we've agreed upon and what I want to bring up the next time we budget and all of that stuff. And
we also have family meeting where we sit down on usually Thursdays, but it depends on our schedule. But we sit down once a week. And there are some conversations, like I'll mention something in the moment and Shay will be like, amazing, we're going to talk about that at family meeting. And we just set the topic aside and we have time set aside to have conversations about these things that are not like, they're not, I was going to say stressful, but they're not stressful. It's just like, we need to talk through the details of something, or Shay needs to talk me down from a weird idea I'm having, like in a safe space. And so we sit down for family meeting and I'll be like, hey, I've been thinking about this. And she's like, okay.
Okay, so maybe we start with something other than buying llamas and a farm. And I don't know why that came into my head.
I don't want llamas.
I
was thinking about how something might be a tax problem in 3 years. And she was like, okay, so let's talk about it in 2 years, maybe. And I was like, That's a good point. But it also like, it allows stuff that sits in my brain like that, like something I'm worrying about and noodling on. I can go, okay, we'll talk about that on Thursday. And that helps kind of like take it out of my brain and I'll think about it. We'll talk through it later.
Yeah.
And that's a space where we can bring up like, oh, I've been thinking about like this category, or we have this money set aside. I was wondering if I could maybe spend that on this. And it's just like a great open forum for us to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And like a dedicated space where it's not just, I think in the beginning, a big problem we had was I was talking about money all the time. I could talk about money all day. That's what I do. That's why you guys are here. Because I can talk through it and it makes me happy to talk about, and it does not necessarily make Shay happy to talk about all the time.
No.
So having a space where we know we're going to sit down for 30 minutes to an hour and have this conversation and talk through, I want to add this category, and I was thinking about this category, and I was thinking maybe we could do this, and maybe we open a whole new budget. We do this, and then maybe we buy a llama farm, and like all of those things that run through my brain on a daily basis where she's like, bro, leave me alone. So that has been also super helpful. I really recommend that. Even if you don't need to talk about your money all the time, just having a space where it's like, hey, the other day you made this joke and it made me kind of sad. Like anything from that to your taxes.
Or I've made plans with friends for this day, and I don't know if we had a conversation about it. Did I let you know?
We talk about everything in like 30, 45 minutes. We just talk through every single topic that we might need to have a conversation about that gets lost in life.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because we talk to you guys all day. We talk about everything, but still there's stuff that we have not yet talked about. So we talk through that stuff. and it's really helpful. I really recommend that. That's been super great as far as managing a budget, but also life together. So if you've got any more questions for us, we're like an open book, but we have a hidden appendix. But like, drop any questions below. We were happy to answer like 99% of things.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything but Shay's PIN number. And I wrote some jokes today. So drop any other questions you have below. We are having a wonderful time making videos for you all. We're vlogging more on Sundays. We get like a week in review vlog, and we also budget every single Friday. So we will see you on Friday for our budget. You can see how we talk through things together. Have a good week.